Hi, I'm George Levy. I have the opportunity today to speak with blockchain researcher and instructor, Evan Freeman. Evan, great speaking with you.
Hello, George. Thank you.
I wanted to talk to you specifically on the angle of blockchain education. I've been reading a lot about the work that you've been doing, and I have to tell you, as a blockchain instructor myself, the work that you're doing is very, very eye-opening because you've actually taken a very big macro view of blockchain, and I love the vision that you have in terms of like how Bitcoin can actually evolve. So I would like to hear
Sure.
about your
Yeah.
vision when it comes to actually how blockchain and Bitcoin can evolve.
Sure. Yeah. So I definitely look at the macro of blockchain, and then I also focus in on the micro, which is Bitcoin and scalability in particular. And I feel like this actually really, Bitcoin scalability and the blockchain space in general's scalability are actually quite intrinsic in that with blockchain right now, perhaps the biggest obstacle is the fact that many of these networks are not scalable,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, and that has not really been a very urgent issue for a lot of the protocol developers, and mainly because you could say the biggest rival to a lot of these other protocols being BTC, which is in itself highly, is having a very difficult time scaling.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I'm looking at these things, I'm looking at all the different sort of options for scalability, and trying to dig into, okay, which options for scalability have the most sustainability, and don't try to change any of the economic incentives of these networks
You know,
themselves.
you bring
Yes.
up when you say that actually, because I want to get down on that specific, because having been in Bitcoin for a very long time, to me, I was actually kind of taken aback. I was actually frustrated. I didn't understand why BTC went down the segregated witness path. And
Sure.
and I do understand that the whole concept of scalability, in order to reach mass adoption, to really have billions of people using Bitcoin, you need to scale it up. But I don't know, because actually looking at how segregated witness has taken it, I really don't think it's really contributed that much to true scalability at the
No.
level we needed. Tell me more, because actually you really have done a lot of work in that area.
Sure. So segregated witness is really actually just removing the signatures from the transactions, allowing for more transactional data to fit in the block space. And this, while doing only a slight improvement in terms of transactional throughput, it begins to alter it begins to alter how the protocol is built, and
Mm-hmm.
that is that the signatures are contained within the transactions in order to create a verifiable trail. And so, one thing could be that segregated witness was an option to end of, one was that it was a malleability, supposed malleability fix, and then
Mm-hmm.
another option was that it offered slight transactional throughput um, uh, improvement, and then the third option is that it sort of began to alter the way that you could legally, I guess you could say, legally enforce sort of the transactional history. You could use a transaction in an illegal action with the signature, because it shows that this person sent that token. So that's like an illegally enforceable um, action, one could say. I'm
So
not a lawyer, so I can't specifically go into that, but there is certain legal ramifications towards removing signatures from transactions. But that's, yeah, so SegWit was an interesting addition to the Bitcoin protocol.
So any alternatives, like last time I checked, I think there were over 4,800 cryptocurrencies. And after a while, you just lose track of all of these. But
Yeah, so
you that have been really, as a researcher, you've been digging really into the concept of scalability. Any
yeah,
specific ones that stand out to you that may be doing like BTC is talking about going to the Lightning Network. That's actually going to take us even further away from the original vision. So the
yes.
question I ask you, alternatives, how do you view
So
things?
sure, yeah, scalability is going to be what separates the proverbial men from the boys, so to speak. Which networks are going to be scalable? In the case of what is actually scaling right now, there is really only one that has shown that it's capable of sustainable, scalable growth and without changing really anything, and that is a version of, well, you could say the version of Bitcoin that most closely resembles the Bitcoin white paper, and that is Bitcoin SV. And so Bitcoin SV is a block size, like an on-chain scaling, block size increasing version of Bitcoin. And really what that means is where you have a 1 megabyte block on BTC, right now you have a 2 gigabyte block size limit on Bitcoin SV, with 256 megabyte blocks being produced. And that's going to, that's basically from within a year of this sort of mass scaling endeavor that has been partaken by a few different mining operations, Bitcoin mining operations, that have been looking to really scale Bitcoin the way that the project, the experiment had originally intended to do so. And it's a very challenging thing to do
So
it.
let me ask you, so far we've talked about Bitcoin, we've talked about Bitcoin SV, and I would think those would be cryptocurrencies. Let's go beyond just the cryptocurrency usage and like blockchain in general, because you're
Sure.
an educator. So this whole blockchain space and Bitcoin being just one application of blockchain, how do you see this whole area expanding and growing?
Well, I believe information is absolutely one of the most valuable things that we can have, and so good information allows us to make good decisions. And in the case of the internet, which is basically a way of exchanging information, there's been a lot of abuse of personal data. Of course, the fact that a lot of this data, which is highly sensitive, is being held within corporations that don't really ensure its security to the level that it probably deserves. And the fact that there's a lot of money being made off of people's data that is not necessarily reaching those people. So one of the greatest enablers of a blockchain is basically the ownership and control of data, and the ability to transmit that data without having to, in a peer-to-peer network. So you don't have to, store all your information on some, iCloud or Google Cloud or whatnot. All of a sudden, you can store your information within the blockchain itself, and you can keep it highly secure, and you can allow people to see what you want them to see, and have full control over that information, and being able to buy and sell information or exchange information. So and that's ultimately what Bitcoin really was about. Bitcoin, bit stands for information,
Mm.
and coin is money. So or data money really. And this is something that you know, it's not that blockchain is incapable of doing other things. It's just that when it comes to being able to work in a virtual environment, securing data, and there's nothing really that comes close to it.
That's fascinating. Let me ask you a question. For the audience members that, because you're actually presenting some very valuable information and people may want to know more. How can people get in touch with you or read your work? How can people find you?
Well, the best way would be on LinkedIn. You can find me by searching Evan Freeman blockchain, and I should pop up there. And I'd be happy to help anybody with any kind of questions they may have or any ideas they have. I'm glad to be of assistance.
Excellent. Evan Freeman, thank you very much for the opportunity. Very enlightening. I appreciate it. And all the very best to you and to all your students.
Thank you so much, George. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something in the process. I bring you brand new videos every single week, so make sure to subscribe to this channel. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, I'm George Levy. We're changing the world, one blockchain at a time. See you next time.